I reject you. Ryan Caldwell's voice carried across the moon court, and every whisper disappeared. Claire Bennett stood beneath the silver banners of Silver Ridge, her ivory ceremonial dress glowing beneath the full moon. Her hands were folded tightly before her, though she refused to let anyone see them tremble. For years, she had imagined this moment differently. She had imagined an alpha stepping forward with certainty, imagined the pack celebrating the bond, imagined finally proving that the quiet omega everyone underestimated was worthy of being chosen. Instead, Ryan looked at her with calm finality. I need a Luna who can stand beside me with strength, he said. I cannot accept you. A murmur moved through the crowd. Claire heard fragments of conversation from the surrounding terraces. They had expected it. They had always considered her wolf too quiet, her presence too gentle, her nature too soft for an alpha's mate. She could have defended herself. She could have reminded them of every elderly pack member she had helped, every child she had comforted, every morning she had spent serving others without asking for recognition. But none of those things mattered to people who had already decided what she was worth. Ryan glanced toward Sophie Hayes, the woman standing among the honored guests. Several pack members followed his gaze, and Claire understood. His choice had already been made. High Elder Marcus stepped toward the ceremonial circle. Claire, do you accept the Alpha's decision? Claire took one slow breath. Her heart felt heavy, but something inside her was strangely calm. She lifted her chin. I accept. 2 words. No pleading. No argument. No tears. Ryan looked relieved, as though a difficult duty had finally ended. Claire turned away from him. Every step toward the great stone doors felt heavier than the last, yet with every step she also felt something she had never expected. Freedom. She had spent so long believing that being chosen would determine her future. Now she wondered whether losing Ryan was actually the first decision that belonged entirely to her. Just before she crossed the threshold, warmth suddenly spread across her wrist. Claire stopped. She slowly pulled back her sleeve. A faint silver crescent shimmered beneath her skin. Her breath caught. She had never seen the mark before. The glow lasted only a few seconds, but someone else had noticed it. High Elder Marcus stood beside the moon altar, staring at her wrist with an expression of stunned recognition. Claire looked at him, confused. Marcus did not speak immediately. He looked toward the ancient symbols carved into the altar, then back at Claire. His face had gone pale. Elder Marcus, she asked softly. He finally whispered, almost to himself, that cannot be possible. Claire glanced down at the fading mark. What is it? Marcus stepped closer, his voice barely audible. The moon-blessed mark. Claire did not understand the words. Neither did the crowd. But Marcus did. He had spent decades studying the old records, and he knew exactly what the silver crescent meant. Claire had just been rejected by the Alpha who believed she was not strong enough. Yet the moon had marked her in the same moment. Marcus looked toward the closed doors through which she had disappeared. His expression changed from shock to certainty. The moon did not reject her, he whispered. It was waiting for her to walk away. Claire did not sleep that night. She sat beside the small window of her cottage, watching the moonlight rest across the pine trees while the silver mark on her wrist faded in and out like a quiet heartbeat. She kept pulling her sleeve over it, then uncovering it again, hoping each time that it might have been a dream. But it was still there. The words of High Elder Marcus would not leave her mind. Moon-blessed. Claire had heard the old stories when she was a child, but they had always sounded like legends meant for another time. She had never imagined that the mark could belong to her. By sunrise, Claire had made a decision. She would not return to the moon court. She would not ask Marcus questions. She would simply continue living the life she had always known. She dressed in a cream sweater and dark skirt, prepared a simple breakfast, and walked into the village with a basket over her arm. Silver Ridge looked different in the Morning. People who usually greeted her without much thought now seemed to notice her. A few whispers followed as she passed. Claire kept walking. Near the village fountain, she found Mrs. Harper struggling with several grocery bags. "Let me help," Claire said. Mrs. Harper smiled with relief. "Thank you, sweetheart." Claire carried the bags toward the older woman's cottage, unaware that Marcus was watching from across the square. He had spent the early morning searching the oldest records in the pack hall. The result had left him unsettled. The moon-blessed bloodline had nearly disappeared generations ago. According to the records, its omegas were never known for physical strength. Their gift was something quieter. They could bring calm to powerful wolf spirits and create a sense of peace where fear and confusion had taken hold. Marcus closed the ancient book. There was one warning written beneath the description. The gift would remain hidden until the Omega stopped seeking approval from others. Marcus looked toward Claire. She had just helped Mrs. Harper carry the final bag inside. She had no idea what was happening to her. Then a young boy near the fountain began to cry. His name was Noah, and the crowded village square had overwhelmed him. Several adults tried to comfort him, but the noise only made him more distressed. Claire approached slowly and crouched several feet away. "Noah, look at me," she said gently. "You are safe. Just listen to my voice." She spoke softly and breathed slowly. Noah gradually followed her rhythm. Within moments, his shoulders relaxed. Claire smiled. She did not notice the faint silver glow beneath her sleeve. Marcus did. His eyes widened. The mark was responding again. Claire stood and walked away, believing she had simply helped a child. Marcus remained beside the fountain, staring after her. The old records had been clear. The first sign would appear through kindness, not power. But before he could reach her, a distant sound drew everyone's attention. Vehicles were approaching from the northern road. Silver banners appeared between the pine trees, each carrying the crest of a crowned wolf. Claire looked toward the road, unaware of who had arrived. Marcus recognized the royal symbol immediately. The King Alpha had come to Silver Ridge. The royal convoy had not even reached the center of Silver Ridge when Claire Bennett felt something change. She stood beside the village fountain, one hand resting over the silver mark hidden beneath her sleeve, while the crowned wolf banners moved between the pine trees in the distance. The King Alpha had arrived. Claire did not know why. She only knew that everyone around her suddenly seemed to care. Yesterday, she had been the Omega no one wanted. Today, whispers followed her wherever she went. She tried to ignore them. She had spent the morning helping Mrs. Harper carry groceries home, just as she had done countless times before. She had helped Noah calm down near the fountain, just as she would have helped any frightened child. She had never asked for attention. Yet now, attention seemed determined to find her. High Elder Marcus watched from across the square, still troubled by what he had discovered in the ancient records. Moon blessed. The words had followed him since dawn. He knew the old stories, but stories were not proof. Claire was proof. He had seen the silver mark respond to her kindness. He had watched her bring calm to Noah without authority, commands, or force. Something ancient was waking inside her. Claire knew none of this. She only knew that her wrist had been warm all morning. She slipped her sleeve lower and started toward the cottage. Then the convoy entered the village. Several black vehicles moved slowly along the main road before stopping near the pack hall. The doors opened, and royal advisors stepped onto the stone path. Then Adrian Blackwood appeared. He was the King Alpha of the Northern Territories, a man Claire had heard about but never expected to see. He wore a dark charcoal coat marked with a silver wolf crest. His dark hair was neatly styled, and his pale blue-gray eyes surveyed the village with quiet authority. Claire looked away immediately. She had no reason to attract the attention of a king. But Adrian stopped. His gaze had found her. Claire felt the warmth beneath her sleeve intensify. She pressed her arm against her side. Adrian's expression changed almost imperceptibly. He did not know her name. He did not know about the ceremony. He did not know that only the night before, an alpha had rejected her in front of the entire pack. Yet something about her presence caught his attention. His wolf stirred with a strange sense of recognition. Adrian did not understand it. He simply watched as Claire continued walking. Marcus noticed the exchange and felt his concern deepen. The old records had mentioned one more detail, a detail he had not yet shared with Claire. The moon-blessed Omega would not awaken because someone claimed her. She would awaken when she stopped seeking permission to belong. Claire had already taken the first step. She had walked away from Ryan. She had refused to beg. She had continued to be kind even when kindness earned her nothing. Now the King Alpha had seen her. But Claire did not notice that Adrian was still watching. She reached the forest path and disappeared between the trees. Adrian finally turned toward Marcus. Who is she? Marcus looked toward the path where Claire had vanished. For a moment, he said nothing. Then he answered quietly, her name is Claire Bennett. Adrian's eyes narrowed with curiosity. And why does my wolf recognize her? Marcus looked toward the moon court in the distance. He knew the answer was buried somewhere in the oldest history of their world. But he was not ready to reveal it. Not yet. Because before the King Alpha could understand why Claire felt familiar, Claire would have to discover what had been hidden inside her all her life. Why does my wolf recognize her? Adrian Blackwood asked, and High Elder Marcus did not answer. The question hung between them inside the quiet pack hall while afternoon sunlight stretched across the stone floor. Outside, Silver Ridge continued with its daily rhythm, unaware that the arrival of the King Alpha had awakened an ancient secret. Marcus finally closed the old record book. Because some bonds are older than memory, he said. Adrian studied him carefully. That is not an answer. It is the only answer I can give you until the moon confirms what I suspect. Adrian glanced toward the village path where Claire had disappeared. He had seen her for less than a minute, yet the feeling remained. Something about her presence had reached beneath every layer of discipline he had built around himself. It was not attraction that concerned him. It was recognition. Meanwhile, Claire was back at her cottage, trying to convince herself that the morning had been ordinary. She placed the grocery basket on the kitchen counter and removed her coat. The silver mark beneath her sleeve had stopped glowing, but the warmth remained. She touched it gently. "What are you?" she whispered. No answer came. A knock sounded at the door. Claire turned. Marcus stood outside. She invited him in, and he carried the ancient book beneath one arm. "I owe you an explanation," he said. Claire sat across from him at the small wooden table. Marcus opened the book to a faded drawing of a crescent surrounded by old symbols. "Your mother belonged to a rare bloodline," he explained. "The moon-blessed Omegas." Claire stared at the page. "My mother never told me. She wanted you to have a normal life." Claire looked down. "And now?" Marcus hesitated. "Now the mark has awakened." He explained that moon-blessed Omegas were not known for physical strength. Their gift was quieter. They could bring calm to powerful wolf spirits and sense emotions others could not. Claire remembered Noah at the fountain. That is why he calmed down. Marcus nodded. "Your gift responded to kindness." Claire leaned back, overwhelmed. "So Ryan was right. I am different." Marcus shook his head. "No. Ryan was wrong about what strength means." Claire looked toward the window. For years, she had believed her quiet wolf was something missing inside her. Now she wondered if it had simply been waiting for the right moment. Before she could ask another question, a shadow crossed the window. Claire turned. Adrian stood outside in the courtyard. He had come to speak with Marcus, but when his eyes met Claire's through the glass, that strange recognition returned. Claire felt warmth spread across her wrist. Adrian noticed. Marcus noticed Adrian noticing. For one silent moment, none of them moved. Then Adrian entered the cottage and stopped several feet away. "I hope I am not interrupting." Claire shook her head. "No." Adrian looked at the silver mark. He did not reach for her. He did not demand an explanation. He simply asked, "Does it hurt?" Claire looked surprised by the question. "No. It feels warm." Adrian nodded slowly. Marcus watched them both. The old records had mentioned another truth. The moon-blessed Omega would not awaken because an Alpha claimed her. She would awaken when she was free to choose. Claire looked at Adrian, then at the ancient book. For the first time, she realized that the most important question was no longer why the moon had marked her. It was what would happen when the moon finally revealed why. And outside, beneath the evening sky, the ancient moon altar began to glow. The ancient moon altar began to glow just as the last light disappeared beyond the pine trees. Claire stood at the edge of the courtyard, staring at the silver symbols awakening across the old stone. The warmth around her wrist had returned, stronger than before. High Elder Marcus stood beside her, while Adrian remained several feet away, watching with quiet attention. Word had spread through Silver Ridge. Members of the pack gathered around the moon court, joined by several visiting alphas who had heard rumors about the mysterious Omega marked by the moon. Claire could feel their eyes, but this time she did not lower her head. She remembered the night Ryan had rejected her in this same place. She remembered believing that everyone had finally confirmed what she feared about herself. Now she stood beneath the same moon and felt something completely different. She was not waiting to be chosen. Marcus raised his staff. "The moon reveals what has been hidden," he said. "But it does not decide your heart." Claire stepped onto the ancient stone circle. For several seconds, nothing happened. The courtyard became completely silent. Then the silver crescent on her wrist began to shine. A soft wave of light moved across the altar, illuminating the ancient symbols one after another. Gasps moved through the crowd. Claire looked down at her hand, amazed. Her wolf stirred inside her with a calm she had never felt before. The sensation was not overwhelming. It was peaceful. Then one of the visiting alphas whispered, "Moon-blessed." Another turned toward Marcus. "Is that really possible?" Marcus nodded slowly. The bloodline survived. Claire heard the whispers growing around her, but she remained focused on the silver light. Adrian stood near the edge of the circle. His pale blue-gray eyes never left her. The strange recognition inside him had become impossible to ignore, yet he remained where he was. He would not turn her moment into his own. Ryan stood farther back among the pack members. Claire noticed him only briefly. His expression had changed. He was no longer looking at her as the Omega he had rejected. He was looking at her as someone he had failed to understand. More Alpha families began whispering among themselves. One asked Marcus about Claire's family history. Another asked whether the moon-blessed bloodline could form a connection with an Alpha from another territory. Claire finally understood what was happening. The same people who had once overlooked her were now interested in her. But instead of feeling proud, she felt cautious. They were seeing the mark. They were seeing the legend. They were seeing what she might become. Few of them had ever seen Claire herself. Adrian stepped forward only after Marcus lowered his staff. He stopped several feet away. "Are you all right?" he asked. Claire nodded. "I think so." Adrian glanced toward the gathered alphas. "You do not have to answer anyone tonight." Claire looked at him. "Why are you not asking questions?" Adrian's expression softened. "Because you have been asked enough questions already." Something about that answer stayed with her. Around them, the whispers continued. The moon-blessed Omega had been revealed. The woman Ryan had rejected was suddenly the most sought-after person in Silver Ridge. But Claire looked only at the silver mark on her wrist and wondered whether the greatest secret was not why everyone suddenly wanted her, but why the one alpha who could have claimed the moment seemed to be the only one willing to let her choose. By sunrise, Silver Ridge no longer felt like the same territory. The news from the Moon Court had traveled faster than Claire could have imagined. Messages arrived from neighboring packs before she had even finished breakfast. Alpha families wanted introductions. Elders requested meetings. Some spoke of the moon-blessed bloodline as though Claire had suddenly become a treasure that could change the future of an entire territory. Claire listened politely, but none of it felt real. She was still the same woman who had woken that morning in her small cottage, brewed coffee, and opened the window to the sound of birds in the pine trees. Only the way people looked at her had changed. High Elder Marcus arrived carrying a stack of sealed letters. He placed them carefully on the kitchen table. "These came before dawn," he said. Claire stared at them. "Why?" Marcus gave her a tired smile. "Because everyone now knows what the moon revealed." Claire touched her sleeve. The silver mark was quiet again. "I did not ask for this." "I know." Marcus sat across from her. "That is why you must be careful. Some will want you because of who you are. Others will want what your bloodline could mean for their pack." Claire looked at the letters. "And what do I want?" Marcus did not answer. He knew that question belonged only to her. By midday, several visiting Alpha families had gathered near the pack hall. Claire walked through the village with Mrs. Harper and immediately noticed the difference. People who had barely spoken to her before now smiled too quickly. Alphas who had once looked past her now found reasons to introduce themselves. One offered an invitation to his family estate. Another spoke proudly about the honor his pack would feel if Claire joined them. She thanked each person and continued walking. None of their words made her feel understood. They knew about the mark. They knew about the moon-blessed bloodline. They did not know the woman who had always lived quietly among them. Across the square, Ryan watched everything. He had rejected Claire because he believed she was not strong enough to stand beside him. Now he watched powerful alphas compete for a conversation with her. Sophie stood beside him, but Ryan barely noticed. His eyes remained on Claire. "You should stop watching her," Sophie said quietly. Ryan looked away for a moment. "I am trying." But regret had already settled into his expression. Claire reached the edge of the forest and found Adrian standing beneath the same cedar tree where they had spoken before. He wore his dark charcoal royal coat, his posture calm despite the growing attention around him. "You are avoiding the village," he said. Claire smiled faintly. "The village is avoiding giving me any privacy." Adrian almost smiled. "That sounds exhausting." Claire looked at him. "Everyone wants something from me now." "What do you want?" he asked. The question caught her off guard. "I do not know yet." Adrian nodded. "Then you do not have to decide today." Claire studied his face. "You are the only alpha who has not asked me to choose. Because your choice should not be a reward for discovering your value." His words stayed with her. Behind them, another royal messenger approached carrying a sealed invitation. Claire looked at it, then at the growing line of visitors near the village. She finally understood the strange twist of her new life. The night she had been rejected, she thought she had lost her place among the wolves. Now everyone seemed determined to give her a place. But Claire no longer wanted a place someone else had chosen for her. She wanted a life she could choose herself. And somewhere behind her, Ryan was beginning to realize that the woman he had rejected was becoming the one person he might never get the chance to choose again. Ryan found Claire beneath the cedar trees just before noon. She was carrying a basket of fresh bread toward Mrs. Harper's cottage when she saw him waiting along the path. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The confident Alpha who had stood before the moon court and rejected her now looked strangely uncertain. Claire stopped several feet away. "Did you need something?" Ryan took a slow breath. "I wanted to talk to you." Claire nodded, but she did not move closer. "All right." Ryan looked down at the basket in her hands. "I have been thinking about the ceremony." Claire's expression remained calm. "I have too." He swallowed. "I was wrong." The words were quiet, but Claire heard them clearly. A month ago, she would have dreamed of hearing those words. The night of the ceremony, she would have given anything for Ryan to change his mind. Now they sounded different. "About what?" she asked. Ryan looked at her. "About you. About what strength means. About what I thought I needed in a Luna." Claire waited. Ryan continued, "I thought I needed someone who could make the pack admire me. I thought being strong meant never showing uncertainty. Then the moon revealed who you really are, and suddenly everyone wanted to know you." Claire lowered her eyes for a moment. "That is not why I am different." Ryan looked confused. "What do you mean?" "I was the same person before the mark appeared." Her voice remained gentle. "The only thing that changed was how everyone looked at me." Ryan had no immediate answer. The forest was quiet around them. "I should have seen it," he finally said. "You should have," Claire replied. Ryan looked toward the village. Several Alpha families had gathered near the pack hall. "They are all asking about you now." Claire gave a small, thoughtful smile. "That is their choice." Ryan turned back to her. "What if I made another choice?" Claire understood immediately. "You want me to reconsider?" Ryan nodded. "I want another chance." The words hung between them. Claire remembered standing beneath the moon altar, hearing him say that she was not enough. She remembered walking away with her heart breaking, then discovering that the moon had marked her only after she stopped trying to be chosen. She did not feel anger now. She felt clarity. "Ryan, you already had a chance." His expression fell. "I know. You made your decision in front of everyone. I accepted it." He looked at her carefully. "But you have changed." Claire shook her head. "No. I have not. You simply see me differently now." Ryan looked away. For the first time, he seemed to understand what his rejection had truly meant. He had not rejected an unknown future. He had rejected the same woman standing in front of him. Before he could speak again, another voice came from the path. "She does not owe you another answer." Adrian stood several yards away, calm and composed in his dark charcoal coat. Ryan lowered his head respectfully. "Your Majesty." Adrian nodded. Claire looked between them. Ryan had finally realized what he had lost because everyone else wanted her. Adrian had noticed her before any of them knew the moon had chosen her. Claire lifted the basket. "I need to deliver these." She looked at Ryan one last time. "I hope you find peace with your choice." Then she walked toward Mrs. Harper's cottage. Adrian remained where he was. He did not follow her. Ryan watched Claire disappear between the trees, and the truth settled quietly inside him. He had wanted her back only after she was no longer waiting for him. The pack hall had never felt so crowded. By late afternoon, every seat was filled with visiting alphas, advisors, and members of the Silver Ridge Council, all gathered because of one woman. Claire stood near the tall windows, listening as another formal invitation was placed on the table. She had stopped opening them. Every message sounded different, yet they all carried the same question: would Claire consider joining their territory? She looked at the growing stack of letters and felt strangely tired. Only days ago, she had wondered whether anyone would ever choose her. Now everyone seemed determined to do exactly that. High Elder Marcus entered quietly and placed another sealed letter beside the others. This one is from the Western Territories, he said. Claire sighed. I do not even know these people. Marcus nodded. That is what concerns me. Before he could say more, the council doors opened. 3 visiting alphas entered with their advisors. Each offered polite greetings and carefully chosen words about Claire's future. One spoke about the strength of his territory. Another mentioned the honor of welcoming a moon-blessed Omega. A third suggested that Claire could bring peace between rival packs. Claire listened until she finally raised one hand. Please stop. The room became quiet. She looked around at the gathered alphas. I am grateful for your respect, but I am not a treaty. I am not a prize. I am a person. No. One interrupted. Then the doors opened again. Adrian entered, and the room immediately settled. He looked toward Claire first, then toward the gathered alphas. What happened? Marcus explained. Adrian listened without expression. When he finished, the King Alpha walked to the center of the room. Claire has made herself clear. One visiting Alpha offered a careful smile. Your Majesty, we only want an opportunity to speak with her. Adrian nodded. Then speak with her when she wants to speak. His voice remained calm. Do not surround her with expectations. Claire watched him closely. He could have used his authority to dismiss everyone. Instead, he gave the decision back to her. One of the alphas turned toward Claire. Then perhaps you should tell us what you want. Claire looked around the room. She had spent so much of her life wondering whether she was enough. Now people were asking what she wanted, and the question felt almost unfamiliar. She looked toward Adrian. What if I do not choose anyone? The room went silent again. Adrian answered before anyone else could. Then you choose no one. Claire's heart softened. And if I choose you? Adrian held her gaze. He did not step closer. Then I will be grateful. Claire studied him. That is all. That is enough. She lowered her eyes, feeling the silver mark beneath her sleeve grow warm. Adrian continued quietly, I will never ask you to choose me because everyone else has rejected you, wants you, or expects you to belong somewhere. If you ever choose me, I want it to be because you want me. Claire felt the weight inside her chest begin to lift. Ryan had wanted her again after watching other alphas notice her. Adrian was giving her the freedom to walk away even now. Outside, the evening light faded over Silver Ridge. Claire looked toward the moon court in the distance. Tomorrow morning, she would return to the place where everything had changed. But this time, she would not stand there waiting for an alpha to decide her future. She would stand there with a decision of her own. And beneath her sleeve, the silver crescent glowed once more, as though the moon itself had been waiting for her to understand. That the greatest gift was never being chosen. It was having the freedom to choose. Morning came softly to Silver Ridge, painting the moon court in pale gold. Claire walked through the ancient stone gates with steady steps, her ivory dress moving gently in the breeze. This was the same place where Ryan had rejected her before the entire pack. The same altar. The same silver banners. But Claire was no longer the woman who had stood there waiting to be chosen. Today, she knew exactly who she was. High Elder Marcus stood beside the moon altar, while visiting alphas gathered around the courtyard. Ryan was there too, standing quietly among them. His expression held regret, but Claire no longer needed an apology. Then Adrian arrived. The King Alpha walked beneath the silver banners in his dark charcoal coat, his pale blue-gray eyes settling on Claire. He stopped several feet away, just as he had promised. He did not speak first. He simply waited. Claire looked around the courtyard. So many people were watching her now. A few days earlier, she had believed being rejected meant she had lost everything. Now she understood that the rejection had only removed the future she thought she needed. Marcus stepped forward. Claire, The moon has revealed your gift. But it cannot choose your heart. Claire nodded. She turned toward Adrian. You said you would wait. I meant it, he answered. Even if I chose someone else. Adrian's expression remained calm. Even then. Claire felt warmth spread across the silver mark on her wrist. She looked down at it for a moment, remembering the night it first appeared after Ryan rejected her. The moon had not marked her because an alpha wanted her. It had marked her when she finally stopped asking to be wanted. Ryan stepped forward slightly. Claire. She looked at him. He seemed smaller somehow, not because his status had changed, but because his opinion no longer controlled how she saw herself. I am sorry, he said. Claire gave him a gentle smile. I believe you. Ryan looked relieved for only a moment before she continued. But forgiveness does not mean going backward. He lowered his eyes and nodded. Claire turned toward Adrian. I spent so much of my life waiting for someone to choose me. Adrian said nothing. Then I realized I had never asked myself what I wanted. She took one slow step toward him. Adrian remained still. Another step. The courtyard became completely silent. Claire finally stood before him and reached for his hand. Adrian accepted it carefully, his expression filled with quiet gratitude rather than triumph. The silver mark on Claire's wrist glowed beneath the morning sun, spreading a soft light across their joined hands. Marcus lowered his head, understanding that the moon had revealed its final lesson. Claire had not chosen Adrian because he was the King Alpha. She had not chosen him because every other alpha wanted her. She chose him because he had respected her before the world recognized her worth. Around them, the visiting alphas watched in silence. Ryan finally understood what he had lost. But Claire did not look back. She looked toward the brightening sky, then at Adrian. For the first time, she was not waiting for destiny to decide her future. She had decided it herself. And beneath the morning sun, the Omega who had once been rejected finally stood beside the King Alpha she had freely chosen, knowing that her greatest victory was never becoming worthy of love. It was discovering that she had been worthy all along.